Sup, angels, gore-grinding lunatics. Today we are going to be going over a detailed analysis on the greatest band that there ever is, ever was, and ever will be by the great late Bret Hart, who is still alive. He once said Mortal Decay is the greatest and sickest band ever, the most ingenious band ever, the most deprived band ever. But today, in all seriousness, we are going to be doing a detailed analysis, tier list by the number one biggest Mortal Decay clunk head. So we're being 45 rankings. There we go. S tier, only gonna be one pick. What's it gonna be? Stay tuned. A tier, not quite godly, but still godly. B tier will be like really good, just not one of the greatest. C tier is going to be a little bit below that, like it's good but not like. And then D tier, bad. That's going to be our tier list ranking. But let's go back to the macabre days. Now we're not going to count macabre, but we are going to, however, count Dawn of Misery. Now we're talking about the original cassette. Has the hidden track Grim Reality that you can listen to on my YouTube. Link may or may not be in the description depending how lazy I feel like. But Dawn of Misery, incredible. Probably the first demo to have the frog type vocals. It has classic songs like Dawn of Misery, Ars Moriendi, stuff like that. It's the like a little bit more doomy. Not like Death Doom, like Winter, Mythic, Cyanide, but there's definitely like an influence of stuff like early Carcass from like Reek and Symphonies on it. Musically, stylely, lyrically, there's a lot of that early Bolt Thrower, autopsy, agoraphobia type of death metal present here. It's quite different than their technical. It's pretty cookie cutter, but for those reasons, I love it. A lot of it has not aged too well. I can see why you tech deaf yummy dummies would enjoy it. Your advanced brain could not comprehend the savagery that was the early Mortal Decay stuff. But I think it is a good contender for B tier, sort of a good halfway. The next demo that followed, Grizzly Aftermath, had a little bit more of a hardcore type of vibe to it, a lot more jumpy and groovy, sort of like Internal Bleeding. It is considered their most recognizable demo out of the three being Dawn of Misery, Grizzly Aftermath, and soon to be mentioned Brutalizing Creations. However, I feel like Grizzly Aftermath sort of has this section where half the songs were written by their previous guitarist and then the other half are written by their new guitarist for that demo, and you could easily see the stylistic differences between songs like Grizzly Aftermath and songs like Consume the Rancid Gore, or even the mighty Human Fossils that has kind of become a cult classic in the underground Mortal Decay fan base. It has sort of been a sleeper song that people are like, hey, this is actually one of the best. I think that it deserves an A tier. Classic Mortal Decay. If you want to pick out a demo to listen to from Mortal Decay, I highly recommend Grizzly Aftermath. But moving on to the year 1995, we have their third and final demo of the classic 90s era, which is Brutalizing Creations. Now, Brutalizing Creation takes a stylistic change. It is super raw. The cover artwork is raw. It is filthy. It is disrespectful to the female gender. Okay? I actually have my analytics say that 99% of you watching are men and 1% is female. So for you 1% females out there, close your eyes. For the 99% men, okay? But Brutalizing Creation is the nastiest Mortal Decay release out there on an aesthetic level. It feels like it's something that a sicko fucking made in their basement and someone found it on like a lost media YouTube video and it has been unearthed. It is raw. It is disgusting. It is quite literally perfect. And for that reason, that is going to be our S tier. It is the perfect Mortal Decay. Anyone who says otherwise is a dummy. What are you, a dummy? I don't care what anyone says. Brutalizing Creation has the deepest fucking frog vocals Johnny was ever able to perform. It is the rawest Mortal Decay. It is Mortal Decay at their fucking filthiest. Moving on, we have their first official debut and their first album or material with a different singer than Johnny, being Kelly. He was a warm addition to Sickening, Erotic, Fanaticism, which has sort of had like a second wave. It's kind of like a Sickening Erotic has kind of become like a sleeper, like Human Fossils that I mentioned. It wasn't appreciated as much as it was now for a while. I have noticed there was a lot of Sickening deniers. I was a Sickening denier for a little bit. I will admit it. For like a good stretch, I was a Sickening denier. But when you actually go and listen to Sickening, you understand why it has become like a second wave of Sickening love has happened. The songs have aged well. They are raw. They are filthy. They are technical. It has all of these elements. It has 4 new songs, which are way more technical than ever. It is, quite frankly, their most... I don't know if it's their most technical compared to their follow-up Forensic, but it's a different type of technical. This was a Mortal Decay album that really pledged to the Deeds of Flesh, the Disgorge, stuff like early, I don't even know, like 1994 era Gorguts. Like, it was just a technical beast. It was like the broken hope left and the suffocation entered. The Deeds of Flesh entered. Kelly's vocals are great. They're haunting. They're chilling. There's some classic parts like the on Not Soaking on Entrails, the other one. Revived Half Dead. Classic comparisons between Kelly and Johnny. But Sickening, amazing album, amazing debut. Like I said, it kind of aged like the Star Wars prequels. People were hating on Phantom Menace. Now everyone loves the Phantom Menace. There was some Sickening grudge going on, but I think that Sickening has been appreciated and welcomed between the die-hard Mortal Decay fans, and even so, the Johnny fanboys have sort of understood what Sickening was and what it is, and really appreciate Sickening Erotic for that matter. It is a great song, has the best album opener, and probably one of the best Mortal Decay songs ever, Decomposed with Nitric Acid. It's also one of the only Mortal Decay songs that actually has a correct formula of song writing, where it is the chorus is repeated instead of just repeated at the end. It actually makes it an actual full-fledged song for once in Mortal Decay's history. You also have great technical songs like Sickening Erotic. Of course, you have great lyrics with those songs too. For more technical, really technical, like the most technical song at that point, Meditating Through Mayhem. Again, great stuff. Then you come to Forensic, and Forensic was the thing that freaking everyone knows from Mortal Decay. For that reason, Forensic is going in A. Now, the common debate of, is Forensic better than Sickening Erotic, or is Sickening Erotic better than Forensic? It's really up to the viewer. If you want more of a traditional death metal, brutal death metal powerhouse, you'd go with Sickening Erotic. But if you're looking for something more macabre and crazy, you'd go for something for like Forensic. Not so much stylistically. I know the cover art on Sickening Erotic is way more graphic than Forensic, but if you're looking for to actually have the listening experience and be sucked into a world of Mortal Decay, Forensic is way more psychological, and Sickening Erotic is way more straight up horror. So if you were to compare the two to a horror movie, I would say that Forensic is kind of like The Exorcist 3, where the horror is kind of more psychological of what it does to mess up your brain. All right, you're not getting those strangulation scene, that gore stuff, whereas Sickening Erotic would be full-on like slaughterhouse. To compare the two classic things, but totally different stylistically. Forensic starts off My Mind Bleeds Tragedies, has classic songs like Insect to Flesh, really cool frog vocal patterns. This was the return of Johnny. So Forensic, really haunting lyrics on Forensic. Everyone knows the animal abuse of Monkey Cage. Everyone knows about the teeth, remind me of her smile on Chronicles. And you have Brutalized and Defiled, which is probably my favorite song on Forensic. The last four, well, after like the 4 minute mark, the song really ramps up. You have really haunting stuff like Driven into Hysterics. Great stuff. So the Forensic and Sickening kind of go hand in hand, depends on what kind of a mood you're into. If you want to be the serial killer, you would listen to Sickening. If you want to really take in the psychological effects, you'd be into Forensic. It's kind of mood of that. Now, it comes into the end of the classic Mortal Decay era, and we're branching into the later stuff, Cadaver Art. This, I feel like it deserves a spot right behind Dawn. Now, Cadaver Art, very underrated, but also overrated. The first song, Consummation, starts off really good. Again, we're going back to that Sickening Erotic. It's kind of similar to Sickening in that way. We have sort of like that Deeds of Flesh technicality, influence. We have one of the best songs, a personal top, like 5 or 10 favorite song, Ravenous Addiction, which has her drummer, Ipri on vocals. Amazing song. If you haven't heard Ravenous Addiction because you haven't checked out Cadaver Art because you know it's not a Johnny or a Kelly Mortal Decay, I highly recommend it, simply for Consummation and Ravenous Addiction. Now, after that, you have some stuff like Ruthlessly Scissored and other stuff like that, but through and through, I think that it is sort of long, very technical, very just, I guess, kind of like Broken Hopes, Grotesque Blessings, where it kind of changed a little bit. But overall, I think it's a great sleeper pick. It's very underrated. If you have not given that a shot, I recommend giving it a shot. And we have Blueprint of Blood Spatter. This is going to be our first one in C. I love it. I love Malignancy. I love Danny, his vocals. I love it. The only problem is I just feel like there's no classic songs that are really recognizable on that release compared to something like Cadaver Art, which was a little bit earlier. And you gotta look and understand where brutal death metal was at that time, but it's kind of like I guess like Defeated Sanity, where it's like I guess like Into the Soil would be one of the biggest Defeated Sanity songs, I guess. I don't know, but it's, again, it's like great band, but it's like, what are like it's like name 5 songs off of that to like the average Defeated Sanity fan. It's gonna be like a little harder. The songs are amazing. It has a little bit problem sticking, and for that reason I have it in C. But it's still a fantastic Mortal Decay listen if you're trying to get into Mortal Decay. They don't have much releases, but I highly recommend checking them all out. Now we have the Post Savagery single. Love Kelly's vocals on it. Love the song. It's a little long though. It's like 5, almost 6 minutes, I believe. Kind of long. Got one song. Again, speaking about Defeated Sanity, it's on the other side of the Defeated Sanity split. Camera died because I'm broke. But anyways, that is the Mortal Decay tier list from the #1 stan. Everyone knows that Mortal Decay is my favorite band of all time. It is the greatest brutal death metal band that ever was. They've been doing it for a little bit over 30 years now. But if you haven't already, subscribe, get some Mortal Decay merch, and peace out, you sick angels.